Hi everyone, welcome back to English with Max. In this video, I'm going to give you some advice on how you can improve your English speaking skills all by yourself. I get lots of messages from people asking me how they can improve their speaking because they don't have anyone to talk with in English. Well, don't worry because there are several things you can do. In this video, I'll talk about 4 easy and free ways you can practice speaking alone. And of course, you can use these techniques to practice any language. Before I go on, remember that you can also follow me on social media, and if you would like to watch this with English subtitles, you just need to turn on captions. Now obviously, the best way to improve your speaking is to talk with another person, preferably a native speaker. But as everybody knows, it's not always easy to find a native speaker to talk to. That's why it's good to know other ways to practice your speaking. I also want to say that there are other more difficult exercises you can do that I'm not going to talk about much in this video. For example, you can choose a topic and then record yourself talking about it for 1 or 2 minutes. Then you listen to yourself and you basically do a self-evaluation. If you have the motivation to do that type of thing and you can do it on a regular basis, that's wonderful. Honestly, hats off to you, you have my respect. Those types of exercises are very effective, but they tend to be quite difficult. And let's be honest, not many people, no matter how interested they are in the language, find the motivation or the energy to do that. I know that might sound a bit pessimistic, but I think I'm a realist. So today I'm going to explain 4 easy ways you can work on your English by yourself. Now when I say easy, I don't mean that they don't require any effort. We're still learning a language here. We're not just sitting down and watching reality TV. You still need to work a little bit, but I don't think that these exercises are very difficult. The first exercise is simply reading aloud. What does that mean? It just means taking an English text and reading it out loud. It might be a book, a magazine, or something online, like a news article or a text from a website for learning English, such as BBC Learning English. Just to show you, this is me reading aloud in English. That worked well enough for flavor, but there were many older people who couldn't manage the walk into town or haul heavy buckets home. No one had much strength left for such chores. This is me reading aloud in Spanish. Sobre la mesa quedó una caja de bombones mucho menos inocente de lo que su apariencia insinuaba. La abrí con una mano, mientras con la otra me secaba las últimas lágrimas. I know this might sound really basic and you might be thinking, how is that going to help me? Well, one of the difficulties when you learn a new language is getting used to moving your mouth in different ways. A foreign language will feel different in your mouth, and the more you practice saying words and sentences aloud, the more natural and comfortable it will become. Speaking a foreign language can also feel quite unnatural if you haven't done it in a long time. I remember about 2 years ago I had to give a speech in German, and although I was reading the speech, it was quite difficult because I had barely spoken German in about 8 years. My mouth just wasn't used to saying German words anymore, so it felt quite strange. There are 2 things that are important to remember if you do this exercise. Firstly, you really have to say the words. Don't whisper them. This is an example of what you should not do. That worked well enough for flavor, but there were many older people who couldn't manage the walk into town. Similarly, you shouldn't just vocalize the words inside your head while you move your lips. Something like this. That word will have a flavor, but there were many older people who couldn't manage to get it down. That is not the same. I've often done it myself. I've often imagined saying something in a foreign language, or I practiced it inside my head, but then when I actually said it, it didn't sound how I had imagined it. Let me know if you can relate to that. Let me know in the comments if you've had a similar experience. The problem is that if you're just whispering the words or saying them inside your head, you're just imagining how you sound, but you don't actually know how you sound. And you're not exercising all of the muscles in the mouth and the throat that you need for speech. Secondly, when you do this exercise, you shouldn't choose texts that are too difficult for you. For example, if you have an intermediate level, don't try read The Economist. This isn't a vocabulary exercise. It's best if you already know all or most of the words in the text and you already know how to pronounce them, particularly if you're practicing English. If it's a language like German or Spanish that has very regular spelling, it's not so important. But if it's English, choose a text that's easy for you to read, so that you're not constantly stopping and stumbling over words. Even most books are a bit difficult. Unless you have a very advanced level, I recommend that you choose articles in English textbooks or on websites that are for language learning. For example, BBC Learning English or Link. I've already spoken about Link in this video here. Basically, you need to choose texts that are appropriate for your level. The second exercise I want to recommend is talking to yourself. If there's no one to speak to in English, then speak to yourself. Hello, Max. How are you today? I'm very well. How are you? Not too bad, thanks. No, I don't actually mean like that. That would be fake and strange. But there are many other things that you can say to yourself on a daily basis. And maybe you already do it in your own language. So just take some of the things that you think normally and say them aloud in English. For example, in the morning you might say to yourself, I'm going to brush my teeth. Oh, it's getting late. I'd better hurry up. We as humans have some very deep and interesting thoughts sometimes. At lunchtime you might say, what am I going to have for lunch? I think I'll have pasta, even though I had it yesterday and the day before that. How do people go gluten-free? It's just little things like that. Obviously, it's a little easier if you live by yourself. It can be a little strange and embarrassing saying these things when there are other people in the vicinity. But if they love you, then they should support you. The third exercise is imitation or mimicking. This is when you listen to a piece of audio and you pause it every few seconds to repeat what the speaker said. This is particularly good for pronunciation practice. I don't think I need to talk about it very much because I think it's quite self-explanatory, but in any case, here is an example of me doing this.
Part 11.
How did you find out that your brother lived here?
How did you find out that your brother lived here?
A friend said that he lived here.
A friend said that he lived here.
A friend told me where he lived.
A friend told me where he lived. The fourth exercise is very similar to the last one, but it's a little more difficult. This exercise is called shadowing. When I was studying interpreting, we were repeatedly told to practice shadowing. So how does shadowing work? Shadowing is when you listen to a language, it's much easier if you use earphones or headphones, and you repeat exactly what the person is saying without pausing the audio. So if you do it well, you will be saying exactly what the speaker is saying, but with a slight delay, normally about a second. This is me demonstrating shadowing.
Part 11.
How did you find
How
out
did you
that
find
your brother
out
lived here?
that your brother lived here?
A friend said that he lived here.
A friend said that he lived
A
here.
friend told me where
A
he
friend
lived.
told me where he lived.
A friend gave me
A
his
friend
address.
gave me his
Where do you
address.
live?
Where do you live?
I live in my parents' house.
I live in my
another
parents'
town.
house in another town.
The house where I live
The house where I
belongs to my
live
parents.
belongs to my parents.
way,
Like I said, it's normally easier if you use headphones, but I showed it to you this way so that you could also hear the original audio. Just like for the reading aloud exercise, it's important that you don't choose material that's too difficult for you. For example, if you have an intermediate level, don't use podcasts or TV shows that are aimed at native speakers. If you do that, you'll just get lost and frustrated, and we don't want that. In this video, I talk about websites where you can get free audio for beginner and intermediate levels. I'll put the link in the description. I think the benefits of shadowing are pretty obvious. It's good for pronunciation, intonation, sentence structure, and speed. Those are the 4 exercises, guys. The last thing I want to say is that you will only notice the benefits of these if you do them on a regular basis. That doesn't mean that you have to do all of them every single day, but I recommend doing 1 or 2 of them, whichever ones you prefer, for a few minutes at least every second day. If you can do more than that, that's great. The more you can do, the better. But even just doing a tiny bit on a regular basis will help you. You can put reminders in your phone in case you forget. I hope you found this useful. Let me know in the comments if you've tried any of these exercises, or let me know what you do to practice your speaking. See you next time. Oh, Frank fell down. Frank fell down. Burped. Mouth and the throat. Well enough. Shit. That was a good example. Strength left for it.